Fearless is the name of the movie. Please like and subscribe for every update. 10. A longtime ancient Hui Yuanjia is the child of a military expressions ace named Indy. Indy never permits Hua to require portion in preparing, concerned approximately his asthma. The kid, be that as it may, incorporates an enthusiasm for Kung Fu. He tries his best to sneak into his father's classes to memorize the essentials of it. Hua's as it were companion could be a nerdy kid named Jin-sun. He does all of Hua's calligraphy homework, permitting him to prepare instead. Indy is the second best in military expressions in their town, which is before long approximately to alter since he has been challenged by the finest, Zhao. Hua is energized approximately the battle and certain that the triumph will drop to his father's lap. Indy has the upper hand within the coordinate and is approximately to arrive a lethal blow on Zhao, but his convictions and reasonable gameplay halt him from doing so. Taking advantage of his greatness, Zhao strikes back and wins the coordinate dishonorably. Hua is devastated by the occurrence. Zhao's child challenges him to a battle when as it were the kids are together. Hua unquestionably takes up the challenge, but is crushed in no time. At this minute, he promises to re-establish his family's title and be the leading military craftsman in Tianjin. He and Jin-sun go to his father's library and take his book approximately military expressions. At that point, utilizing the book, he trains day and night without rest. When Hua at last considers he is prepared, he challenges Zhao to a battle again. Zhao accepts the challenge unquestionably, but is immediately demonstrated powerless against the prepared Hua. A long time afterward, Hua has developed up to gotten to be even better in military expressions. His father passed absent long prior, together with his spouse, who cleared out him with a small girl, who ruins her since she is his bliss and pride in life. After his final battle with Zhao, Hua has remained undefeated. He has battled a few adversaries, but none of them were great sufficient to provide him a difficult time. Hua has moreover assembled a part of fans and supporters over the long time, but along the way, he has created pride and is beginning to disregard his father's standards. He drinks and parties all the time and lets his followers center on having fun more than practicing. A few days he drinks so much that he overlooks to return domestic to his girl. He has went through all of his family's money and has gone into obligation, but has no care within the world. One evening, he goes to his best companion Jin-sun, who is presently an affluent businessman and the proprietor of a famous restaurant. As regular, Hua drinks till midnight and treats his followers to boundless nourishment. Jin-sun's right hand reminds him that Hua has not paid his bills for over a year, which has been heaping up. Afterward that night, Jin-sun tries putting a few cents into Hua. Jin-sun knows that Hua's followers, as it were like him, since he treats them to free nourishment and drinks. He needs Hua to remain cautious of his investing propensities, but Hua considers Jin-sun is fair being miserly. The taking after day, he bumps into his greatest match, Qin. He is the as it were man who hasn't battled with Hua, however. Since he has two crushed each opponent, Qin is considered the most excellent in military expressions by numerous. They get into a slight quarrel which harms Hua's pride. He takes his outrage out on his devotees, beating them up while they prepare. At night, one of his supporters has got to be brought to him in a stretcher. It turns out that Qin beat him up for a few reasons. Hua accepts that he did it out of show disdain toward and is filled with outrage. In Jin-sun's eatery, Qin and his family are celebrating his birthday. All of a sudden, Hua Freight chips in with his people and begins drinking at a nearby table. Qin inquires him to keep their contention aside for the night since he doesn't need to fight, but Hua is in no temperament to back down. Jin-sun moreover tries to halt him but is, in turn, insulter. In a fit of rage, he breaks up their long-lasting companionship. Presently indeed angrier, Hua challenges Qin to a battle and inquires him to bow down in case he doesn't need to acknowledge. Everybody gets out of the eatery for their security, taking off the warriors alone. They get into a strongly fight, both coordinating in aptitude and quality. But when outrage takes over Hua, he doesn't play reasonable. He beats Qin up till he is depleted and lands a life-threatening punch on his chest. It causes him to kick the bucket immediately. Hua returns domestic within the morning to see his mother's dead body on her bed. Qin's followers had murdered her to require vindicate on him. He cries, mourning her death before abruptly realizing his girl is additionally within the house. Upon strolling into her room, he is met with the greatest surprise of his life. She is lying on her bed, secured in blood. In her hand could be a small pocket that she guaranteed to provide him when he returned domestic. Broken by the passings he caused, Hua steps out of the house when his followers advise him that the man who was beaten up by Qin had insulted his spouse. Qin did not beat him out of show disdain toward, but for his wife's honor. Filled with blame, lament, and distress, Hua doesn't see a reason for him to keep living. He sheets the primary transport and lies down in a corner, willing to go wherever it takes him. After living within the roads for 6 months, Hua has sufficient of life. He tries to commit the unimaginable but is before long spared by a bunch of individuals by the stream. They bring him to their tribe and take incredible care of him. But indeed, after picking up awareness, Hua goes into discouragement and doesn't talk to anybody. A dazzle lady named Moon takes care of him and is stressed that he will never get up from the bed. Her experienced grandma is sure that he will be fine with time. One day, Moon feels Hua's hair and offers to cut it. He walks for the primary time in a month and goes to a waterway with her where she makes a difference him cut his hair. Beginning that day, he gets to be a part of their community. He makes a difference them cook, cultivate, and do family work. As a year passes, Moon and Hua begin falling for each other. At that point, one day, a kid from their tribe is found taking a bovine from a neighboring community. The grandma and Moon ask for pardoning from the equal pioneer. But according to their convention, somebody who makes a botch ought to be beaten till an incense burns out. Hua speaks up for the tribe and offers to require the beating within the kid's put. For adults, the discipline may be a bit diverse, which implies Hua will need to fight against the pioneer. In spite of the fact that Hua can wrap up him in no time, he doesn't need to use his knowledge to hurt anyone any longer. At first, he doesn't indeed guard himself, but after a small inspiration from the grandma, he begins to avoid the attacks. The incense burns off, but the leader isn't able to arrive a single blow on him. He acknowledges his overcome and acclaims Hua. The following day, Hua, Moon, and the children of the tribe are in the field. The children need to memorize Kungfu from Hua, but he denies to instruct them. He knows what incredible control does to individuals and needs the tranquil town to stay the same. The children moreover honestly say that Hua and Moon are the closest to each other, but the grown-ups overlook the comment. One day, Moon goes to see her parents' grave. This reminds Hua of his guardians and girl who he abandoned after her passing. Presently that he is in distant better, a much better, a higher, a stronger, and improved a much better mental condition, he wants to return home to visit their graves. He tells Moon about the plan and she happily encourages him. Hua promises to return as before long as he can and inquires her to hold up for him. Within the taking after scene, we see him enter his domestic town Tianjin, which is now in completely diverse put. After the drop of the Qing line, a few solid nations attacked China and took it over. Tianjin got to be mostly colonized, which caused a few outside inhabitants to dwell in the city and impact their culture. Hua goes to his childhood house, which is now an ancient impoverished put. The family servant Laifu invites him in. He has attempted his best to keep things as they were, but after Hua's flight, a bunch of leasers flipped the whole house to search for cash. Hua goes to his family's grave and apologizes to his father. He at long last gets it why he didn't arrive the punch a long time prior when he may have won the title of the most excellent player. After that, he goes to apologize to Ku's family and bows down before his shrine. As he meanders around the city, he sees that a wrestler named Hercules O'Brien is challenging Chinese individuals in a battle. He has remained undefeated in every fight and is certain of his following triumph. To conserve Chinese legacy, Hua wants to challenge him, but he will require a few cash for it. For his following halt, he goes to Jinsuan's put and apologizes for what happened a long time prior. He guarantees to have learned from his activities. When Jinsun finds out what he needs the money for, he doesn't squander some time recently giving it to him through a collaborator. At that point, within the 1909 race club, Shanghai, Hercules goes against Hua. To begin with, look, somebody petite like Hua may never beat Hercules, who is twofold the estimate of him. Sometime recently the coordinate starts. Hua demands that he and Hercules battle with honor and civility. Taking advantage of the dialect boundary, the broadcaster mistranslates was asked to he needs to kick your butt, making Hercules chuckle. The battle begins, and Hua immediately picks up the upper hand. As the coordinate gets seriously, Hua spares the adversary from being skewered to nails on the side of the ring. As a great sportsman, Hercules acknowledges his overcome, making Hua the victor. Hua picks up notoriety from the single battle and is called to Shanghai. He meets Jinsun there, who proposes they shape Qing Charm athletic affiliation, a put where they instruct Chinese understudies the craftsmanship of Kung Fu. That way, indeed with the steady remote weight, they can protect their legacy. In the meantime, a gather of authorities from the remote chamber isn't affectionate of Hua's developing ubiquity among the Chinese open. They fear that his wins against the foreign warriors may trigger anti-foreign assumptions among the Chinese people. Thus, to create beyond any doubt he loses within the ring the following time, they propose a coordinate between Hua and 4 outside champions continuously in a single day. The Japanese agent, Mr. Mita, guarantees to conclusion Hua once and for all this time. Even in spite of the fact that the challenge is difficult and is clearly a strategy to form him lose, Hua concurs to require portion. One day before the big battle, he meets his equal, the Japanese winner Tanaka. They conversation over tea and get to know each other. Tanaka could be a reasonable and respectable sportsman like Hua, but not at all like the individuals who are supporting him. Cut to the day of the battle. Hua is made to go against 3 warriors from around the world, but none of them final within the ring for more than 2 minutes. Hua oversees to overcome all 3 without breaking a sweat. Finally, he goes against Tanaka, who apologizes for the unjustifiable coordinate and inquires him on the off chance that they ought to reschedule. Hua says it's fine and the primary round starts. They battle utilizing weapons of their choice. Hua employments a sanjigun and Tanaka employments a katana. In the midst of the intense battle, they accidentally exchange weapons. Tanaka isn't very good at handling a sanjigun, so to create it a reasonable battle, Hua offers to trade weapons. The primary circular closes in a draw sense of the hold-up, whereas resting some time recently the another circular, Hua drinks tea that's harmed by Mr. Mita, who needs to see him lose one way or the other. The circular begins, but Hua collapses and begins hacking blood nearly instantly. Tanaka requests that the match be stopped for the safety of the warrior, but when Hua registers he has been harmed, he wishes to proceed as he is attending to kick the bucket besides. Indeed, when exhausted and seconds absent from passing, Hua oversees to convey a last blow to Tanaka's chest, utilizing the same strategy that murdered Chain. Be that as it may, he holds the punch back this time, learning from his botches, but fair at that point, he collapses. Tanaka announces Hua the champ, knowing that he held back on the punch purposely. Within the conclusion, Hua falls into his friend's arms and passes on. Tanaka furiously disparages Mr. Mita for turning to murdering a man for his pride. He calls him a disrespect to Japan sometime recently raging off. Within the last scene, Hua's spirit comes to the field exterior Moon's house. She runs to him, sensing his presence indeed in spite of the fact that she is dazzled. Thank you for watching. See you on the next video.